Good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 15 of the federal government shutdown. It's been 15 days since Republicans and Democrats in the House and Senate have been unable to come to an agreement on how to fund this behemoth, this federal leviathan. Now, the important thing to remember is that the continuing resolution that is on the table from Republicans does not cut spending. It actually continues the spending at the level that will give us this $2 trillion deficit. The Democrats, on the other hand, are demanding that more spending be approved. Specifically, the Democrats are calling for a continuation of certain subsidies that are being paid under the Affordable Care Act, and that those subsidies continue beyond 12/31, which is when they're set to expire. Well, that's a debate that could be had after the continuing resolution is signed. This is certainly their leverage point, but it would only take the federal government's funding to the end of November. So they would have time still to argue that this Affordable Care Act spending subsidy should go forward. And with the Senate voting for the eighth time not to continue this resolution, not to fund the government, it puts that pressure on. Now, Scott Bessent came out yesterday and said it's going to affect the economy. So it's being recognized that starting today, the day that federal employees were supposed to be paid, with those paychecks not rolling out, people are going to start cutting on spending. And probably most federal employees already have. So you're going to put a lot more strain on an already shaky economy. And that's a problem. But at some point, this fight has to be had. At some point, we have to make a decision. Will the federal government continue to print money, continue to drive inflation, continue to spend money it doesn't have, or at some point will we start dealing with the fiscal reality of what's happening? If you look at the impact on specific agencies, the EPA has about 85% of its employees on furlough. The Department of Education is about 90%. You got about 900,000 employees that aren't going to federal jobs today and that aren't going to get paid today. Good news is, I guess, that the Department of Defense has found about $8 billion rolling around in the cushions of their couches. So the active duty military is going to be paid. That's good because they're essential and they have to go to work, paid or not. But that is not the way you fund an army. Now, Russ Vought, the director of the Office of Management and Budget, has in fact been authorized at this point to start making some of these temporary furloughs, some of these 900,000 that are furloughed, to make some of those permanent. In other words, to do what is never, I don't think, been done before, a reduction in workforce at the federal level. And that could mean thousands and thousands of workers could be permanently removed from the federal payroll. Well, an organization that's spending $2 trillion it doesn't have should be looking hard at who's working there and what they're doing, and are they adding value? Is their position necessary? These are the things that companies do. But it's not what the federal government
He has argued that some of these agencies are too big and have hurt Americans. And so from his vantage point, he has been empowered by the president to move forward with these.
This vote is authorized to begin moving some of these federal employees to permanent reduction in force, to terminate them. The estimates are that somewhere between 50,000 and 100,000 of those employees could be laid off in the near term. That is, as a percentage of the overall 2.5 million federal workforce, not that much. But nevertheless, it's making the Democrats very, very concerned because, of course, we all know that 95% of the donations coming out of some of these federal agencies go directly to the Democrat Party. We know that the federal unions that support these workers, they fund the Democrat Party. So this is not just an economic impact on the nation. This is a significant impact on potential funding for the Democrat Party as we move into the midterms, because the money these folks don't contribute may end up crippling their finances even further. And if the unions aren't collecting dues, then they can't be funneling those dues back to the Democrat Party. So this is going to be a serious partisan fight. And how does it end? We don't know yet. It will end at some point, but we're not sure how or when. This could be one of the longer federal shutdowns, depending on who is more determined. Are the Democrats more determined to increase spending and willing to fight to make that happen? Are the Republicans finally getting a backbone and saying that they will stand firm? We'll know in a couple of weeks, but we will be back to see you again soon. If you get a chance, please like, subscribe, help us grow the channel.